Al-Qaza is not haram, rather it is makruh. Now, what is Al-Qaza? Al-Qaza is to cut off the hairs from the head, from one part of the head, and to leave the other part of the head to have, full-grown hairs. What are the definitions from the scholars? They say that Al-Qaza is to not have unification in the hair quantity in your head. So if one part is full and the other side is not full, that is Al-Qaza. And that is something that you did intentionally. It is not something that happened out of sickness or some sort of illness or something. So in one word, we would say that Al-Qaza is not to have unification in the quantity of the hairs on your head. The ruling of Al-Qaza is not haram, rather it is makruh. What is Al-Makruh? Al-Makruh, like we all know, is different from haram. And if a person does something which is makruh, he is not subjected to punishment. However, if he abstains from that which is makruh, he would be rewarded. So when we say Al-Qaza initially is not haram and it is makruh, can it become haram, and when does it become haram? So Al-Qaza becomes haram the moment you do it to imitate a kafir, a disbeliever. Then it becomes haram, because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum." And when you do it out of your own desire, your own will and choice, whatever, that is makruh, and you are not subjected to any punishment. However, if you stay away from it, you will be rewarded. This is one of the answers of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah. The second thing is, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the hadith of An-Nahy an al-Qaza, where he prohibited al-Qaza, it was said that the child that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw, this child, his hair was, one part of the hairs were cut off totally, like there was no hair on one side and there is hair on the other side. And Nabi sallam said, you should ihlak kullah aw utrak kullah. So it's either you're cutting off all of the hairs or you leave in all of them. So now I believe that it's very clear to people that Al-Qaza is when you don't have any, not even a single hair on one side of the head. The question now is, what about fades? Fades in the sense that you only reducing one part of the hairs. So is that going to be considered as Al-Qaza or is not Al-Qaza? So the answer to that by one of the scholars, Sheikh Muhammad al-Mukhtar al-Shanqiti, hafidhahullah, he said, وَمَنْ يُقَصِّرْ أَطْرَافِ الشَّعْرِ, anyone who reduces the edges of the hairs in the head, وَيَجْعَلُ الشَّعْرَ كَثِيفًا فِي مَنْتَصَفِ الرَّأْسِ, and he left or he makes the hair to be much and many in the middle of the head, فَإِنَّهُ يَشْمَلُهُ هَذَا. Such person as well is included in the ruling of Al-Qaza. Such styling of the hair is included in Al-Qaza, is considered to be Al-Qaza, and that means it's also makruh. So by this explanation, it is clear that fades is also part of Al-Qaza. We shouldn't forget that Al-Qaza is makruh, whether you cut off all, the hairs on one side of the head, or you cut some of them and you leave some of them. Regardless of these two things, it is still makruh. In as much as you are not doing that to imitate the kuffar, that is believers, then it becomes haram. The next thing now is it permissible to encourage people on fades? And the answer to that is no, it is not permissible. And when it comes to the issue of fades or not fade, this will take us into a topic about al-muru'ah. Al-muru'ah simply means chivalry or courtesy. You can call it chivalry, you can call it courtesy. So this is al-muru'ah. In Islam, your muru'ah is meant to be protected so that people will not think about you that which is not of you. So people will not relate things to you that you are not part of. And that is why Imam Shatibi rahimahullah, he said, لو خص الفساق لباس منع لبسه لغيرهم. If a specific type of clothing is attributed to the fusaq, to the sinners, the people of immorality, people who does evil, if a specific type of clothing, a specific type of dress is ascribed to them, it is haram, it is prohibited for someone who is not part of them to put on such clothing. So that is muru'ah. He said, حَتَّى لَا يَظَنَّ بِهِ مَا لَيْسَ فِيهِ, so that they would not think about him and they would not presume and believe that he is part of something that he is not actually part of. This is Kalam al-Shatibi. So we have to look at the society today, and we need to look into different zones and different areas of the world. Like my country, Nigeria. In Nigeria, fades and qaza, all types of qaza, most of the times you're going to find fades in the people who doesn't understand the deen. It is not something that you find commonly among the people of ilm, the people of knowledge. So in such areas, it is strictly not permissible to encourage fading in such areas. Even if it's makruh or even if it's mubah, we'll still tell them that do not do it. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, just to show you guys the preservation of al-muru'ah, courtesy, Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said, لو علمت, if I knew, أن الماء البارد, if I knew that drinking of cold water ينقص من مروءتي ما شربته, if I knew that drinking of cold water would decrease and reduce my courtesy, I would never drink it. I wouldn't drink it. just to see how much the scholars try to preserve their muru'ah. And for you to preserve your muru'ah, you shouldn't do fade. Most especially if you're a scholar or you're a student of knowledge, because it is widely known that the people who have fades, there are most of the time the people who engages in immorality and evil and bad things. And this is not something that we say. Even the scholars, they know this. That is why in the previous talk of Sheikh Muhammad al-Mukhtar al-Shanqiti, he said, لأن فيه تشبيه لأهل الفساد. He said because getting a fade is it has some sort of attributes of the people of evil, the people of immorality, and the people of corruption. And one scenario that happened to a brother is he's a good speaker and he knows a lot about the Quran and Sunnah, and he was trying to give da'wah to some brothers, and they told him, no, we're not going to listen to you. He said, why? They said, because you have fade. SubhanAllah. So you know the effects of having fades on. Yes, there's no sin in it, but you have to preserve your courtesy, most especially if you're a student of knowledge. So if you can even do it, let's say for the sake of argument, let's say, okay, fine, you can do it, it's permissible. You shouldn't be too apparent, like just a little bit. That is better than having, this obvious apparent fades. It's going to look like al-qaza in all sense. So at the end of the day, while we'll talk about you not encouraging people to do al-qaza, at the same time, do not be an extremist and calling people who have qaza kafir or not taking knowledge from them or insulting them or whatever. No, you shouldn't do that. That is absolutely not correct. But the most safest opinion is for you as a Muslim to preserve your courtesy. So guys, that is al-qaza. If you would like to see more content like this, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.